From where the government of Gibraltar is sitting, as I've said repeatedly, Dominic Raab was an excellent foreign secretary. Hugh Elliott has been a magnificent ambassador in Madrid, and I haven't seen, on the part of Hugh Elliott, any suggestion at any time, and neither has any British minister or official indicated to me that Hugh Elliott has ever indicated anything other than deep commitment to the objectives of the government of Gibraltar and the objectives of the government of the United Kingdom to achieve that New Year's Eve agreement then, and subsequently the treaty that we have wanted to achieve with the European Union, based entirely, squarely and completely on the mandate that Dominic Raab and I launched in Gibraltar when Dominic Raab came to visit us.
Chief Minister, that's really confusing, because on Friday you did say Dominic Raab had shown a solid determination to uphold the wishes and interests of the people of Gibraltar. And on Saturday, you supported Hugh Elliott. So we can't have it both ways, can we?
Oh, yes, you can. It can only be confusing if you believe only what Dominic Raab is saying. If you look at what I am saying, the reality is that in that New Year's Eve framework, there is no question of there being any of the failures that are suggested might have come from Hugh Elliott.
So are we talking timing?
No, that's why I'm telling you that both of them, in the work that they did with me, with Joseph and with Michael, in the negotiation of the New Year's Eve Framework Agreement, never faltered in trying to defend the interests of Gibraltar. When there was a faltering, of course we were at the table and we could stop that. If we detected that there was any problem, we could stop it. But I never detected any faltering on the part of Hugh Elliott. Neither did I think that Simon Manley becoming involved was to replace Hugh Elliott. You've got to understand, Hugh Elliott is the ambassador to Madrid. Hugh Elliott wasn't running the negotiation. He was the ambassador in Madrid, involved when we were in Madrid, and involved when there were negotiations involving us in Madrid. The negotiation was being run by us and by the Whitehall part of the FCDO. So there's no question of there being any attempt by Hugh Elliott or any effect by Hugh Elliott that was anything other than to defend the Gibraltarians 100%. Now look, I am the first one. If a faceless Foreign Office Mandarin steps over the mark or suggests that he's going to step over the mark, I would be the first one, before Dominic Raab, to say, where are you going?
Unless you think that boots on grounds is not overstepping the mark.
Well, but look, I could not have made clearer my position on boots on the ground. I mean, the people of Gibraltar, they fall in and out of love with their politicians, they fall in and out of love with their chief ministers, because this is normal, this is the flow. But look, Gibraltar is in my heart. British Gibraltar is in my heart. Making zero concessions in respect to British Gibraltar is in my heart. I've given Gibraltar more than I had to give on this issue and will continue to give more than I had to give. Nobody's going to believe that Joseph, Michael, me, the cabinet involving Joe Bossano and all of the others were going to be prepared to agree anything that provided such concession.
But people now are a bit confused when you have supported Hugh Elliott, who supposedly made that concession.
Because the supposedly is not true. Because the document that proves that it's not true is the New Year's Eve Framework Agreement. So
supposedly because Dominic Raab stopped him.
There is no empirical evidence to support the suggestion that Hugh Elliott would have permitted boots on the ground. I can tell you, having been involved in every minute and second of the negotiation, that Hugh Elliott never suggested that boots on the ground would be acceptable. Neither did anybody else in the Foreign Office team, neither would anybody in the Gibraltar team have accepted it. Now look, as you can imagine, a Foreign Secretary is busy, he's travelling, he is in and out. The Chief Minister of Gibraltar is in every second of the negotiation. Every second. And I don't give my support with this level of vehemence to a British Foreign Office official if he doesn't deserve it.
If it weren't for the Raab report, we would not have found out that the senior negotiator in the talks had been moved aside, if that's what happened. So what would you say to people? You're nodding no. So what?
Well, it's very simple. Hugh Elliott was not the senior negotiator in the talks.
A senior negotiator.
Right, the senior negotiator in the talks was Lindsay Appleby, who was running the negotiation from Whitehall, who is now the ambassador in Brussels. Hugh Elliott's role was as ambassador in Madrid, which is what he was, and he still is. So there's no question of him having been replaced, but there was no question of the head of the team being replaced and us not saying, goodness, people of Gibraltar, there's been a wobble. The UK have had to change their lead negotiator. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Is the net result of all this that Dominic Raab was lying?
Look, there is no question that there might be a recollection that Dominic Raab has about a discussion he might have had with Hugh Elliott, right, on their side, which we are not privy to, about how they might or might not be doing things. The vantage point of the Gibraltarians, which is the one that I carry, is one where you see the Foreign Secretary and you see our ambassador in Madrid, and you see what they are doing, and you say that is exactly what Gibraltar needs doing, and we support what they are doing. Have they had a falling out? They very obviously have had a falling out. Did that happen at the time? It very obviously happened at the time. Did it have a negative consequence for Gibraltar? No, it didn't have a negative consequence for Gibraltar because it was not in the nature that would lead to a negative consequence to Gibraltar. Otherwise, I would have rang the alarm bells. I didn't have to ring the alarm bells.
Chief Minister, you were very vehement in saying that you would never advocate, you would never cross those red lines that you set yourself. But I think the people of Gibraltar need a categorical assurance that there won't be boots on ground.
Look, let's be very clear. I've said it many times before. I've said it in the run-up to the negotiation of the New Year's Eve Framework Agreement. I've said it after the New Year's Eve Framework Agreement. And the mandate that Dominic Raab and I issued in Gibraltar, we sat here at this table and we issued a mandate to the media in Gibraltar and internationally, includes that categorical assurance. It includes it in writing, in black upon white. There was no question of there having been any suggestion, proposal, or desire to negotiate, accept, or concede on a permanent Spanish presence in Gibraltar. It's not going to happen.